Welcome or welcome back to the Citizen channel and our part two of our look at Fernandinho's time at City's 9 seasons with us. So we're having a look in part one. Yeah, we had a look at his early career and his time in Brazil and coming to City from Shakhtar, of course. And we looked at seasons 13-14 to seasons 15-16 with City. Obviously, by the time the season 2016-17 came around, we had a new manager, didn't we? Please join me. We're going to have a look back at 2016-17 and onwards in this little story and little get-together of how old Ferna did for us well. Our legend was with us for those 9 seasons. Please, if you like this, please push that subscribe button if you've not already done so. Press that like button, please, guys. Make an old City fan very, very happy. And please pass the word, give me your support. Right, yeah, the start of the Pep years. And, sort of Peps formations, a DM would be ideal, wouldn't it? Not that it was there initially. It would eventually be the role that he'd expect Ferna to play. But the arrival of Pep, of course, any doubts that he would be a Pep player, because obviously there was all those doubts about all the players, wasn't there? Whether Pep could work with them and what plans he had. Early in the season, Ferna had been positive himself. He talked about his perfect summer. Yeah, he's not always had those because of international duties, stuff like that. With no international duties this time, he had a good break and was pretty much said he was flying for pre-season training. And Pep had wasted no time experimenting with his squad he inherited. Ferna played at centre-half, he played at full-back, he played as a defending and holding midfielder as well as an attacking midfielder. And yes, he even got a chance as a striker in one game. But this is all pre-season, of course. Ferna didn't mind, apparently. He said, something I've always said, the most important thing for me is to be part of the starting 11, no matter which position I play in. Fair enough. Pep, though, maybe had reason to worry a little bit about Ferna's disciplinary problems, certainly this season, as Ferna did actually pick up 3 red cards, which is the most that he'd picked up for this season, and actually missed 8 games through suspensions. But he would improve or perhaps get better at getting away with this as time went by. We know about that cheeky grin, the ability to sort of get away with things other players never seem to get away with. His first goal for Pep was in a 3-1 win over West Ham on the 28th of August. In the Battle of Britain, of course, in the Champions League at Celtic on the 28th of September, he scored our first equaliser in what was a thrilling, for the neutral anyway, 3-3 draw, of course. It was irritating for me, I remember at the time. An ever-present for Pep in the Premier League to that stage that was soon to end. Yeah, within 10 days at the end of November and early December, he'd been sent off twice in 3 games, away at Mönchengladbach in the Champions League for a second bookable offence and in a disappointing 3-1 loss at home to Chelsea. What a game that was. And served his first of his 2 4-game suspensions for the season. He started the new year with another sending off, yes, yet again against Burnley on the 2nd of January. Fortunately, a 2-1 win for City. He would miss one of the low points of Pep's first Premier League season, of course, that 4-0 loss at Goodison Park. Well, was there any coming back from that? Probably was. All this meant an obvious disruption. And he did struggle to get back to a level of consistency, I think, after these suspensions. And it certainly wasn't helped as Yaya was struggling for form as well under the new Pep system. Ferna was playing all over midfield and in defence, and even played left-back. So I say that trials by Pep came to fruition during the season. He had to play him in competitive games as well. As we dropped well behind Chelsea on points, we sort of ended up clinging on to 4th spot, didn't we, at one stage? But at least we had a chance at Wembley for the final in the FA Cup. But we never, and Ferna never really got going against Arsenal in that one. I mean, it just didn't feel right to me that day. City didn't feel right. We lost the semi-final. Ferna was booked and substituted, so he didn't have the greatest semi-final himself. Although, let's be honest, dodgy officials had a big say in this as well. As I said, we just didn't feel right on the day for some, so we missed out on that. Won't be the first and last FA Cup final we miss out on. Things were not quite right. It was as simple as that then. The season sort of trundled along. Don't forget, it was Pep's first season. Still getting used to things. The players were still getting used to him, the systems, etc. But at least Ferna managed to grab another goal in a 5-0 defeat of Watford at Vicarage Road. a third place finish, so we finished third in the end, even though, say, at one stage it looks as though we might drop out of the top four. A third place finish guaranteed Pep, of course, and us Champions League football. But the season had been a bit of a one of transformation, especially for Ferna, who was approaching, at that stage, his last year of his original contract. Colin Savage, writing in King of the Kippax 242, said of Ferna isn't performing to the level we know he can, but has 1 year left on his contract, so we'll probably keep him. You're probably right. His season stats for that season: played 44 with that includes 2 sub appearances, scored 3 goals, a 59% win rate, 8 yellows and 3 reds. So he's possibly his worst. It certainly was his worst disciplinary season as far as red cards are concerned. On to the 17-18 season, and of course we're back on the trophy trail as Ferna meets some old friends this season. Yeah, of course it wouldn't be Ferna's last season, as sort of quoted there, as Pep began to get the best out of his DM, and he began to get the best out of City, didn't he? A good start by City, of course, and Ferna, and happy times for Ferna as we welcome some old friends to the Etihad, of course, but we'll get a bit bored of them in the end, won't we? As Shakhtar Donetsk were in town for our first Champions League game of the season, Ferna, of course, had stayed in touch with some of his ex-teammates, and still, when he could watch them on the internet, would try and watch them where he could play him. 7-2 mauling of Stoke, remember that? 14th of October saw Ferna get his first goal of the season. Before a tricky trip to Naples in November, Ferna scored again in a tighter looking game than it actually was, a 3-2 win over West Bromwich Albion at the Hawthorns. Yeah, they scored a very late goal to make it look a little bit better than it actually was. It should have been about 6-1 at that stage when they got a goal back. So that was certainly one of Ferna's best performances of the season in that 3-2 win. City were flying in the league, with United trying to hang on to our coattails as our lead stretched to double figures. And apart from the Carabao Cup, Ferna was playing almost every game, and by Christmas the gap to United was 15 points. All over? Not quite. Ferna was perfecting the art of getting a booking, but smiling his way out of many more. So he was getting pretty good at this stage. But of course, City's lead at the top stretch rival fans could only complain, whinge about this tactical foul. No other team did it, just us. So whinged about how we got away with it, and they say he was the master. Of course, Ferna was the master of the so-called tactical foul, as I said, but it's not so anyone else didn't do it, was it? But it was City dominating, who were getting all the stick as per usual. It was West Brom again in the return at the Etihad that Ferna again got on the score sheet in the 3-0 win, and he appeared, of course, in the Carabao Cup final for City against Arsenal on the 25th of February. He'd only started before that the away leg of the semi-final against Bristol City, where, of course, we needed to win over there, didn't we? Or down there previously. But, of course, Pep, as he normally did, perhaps apart from the keeper, went with a strong lineup. We easily defeated Arsenal 3-0 this time. However, he was substituted after 52 minutes because of an injury, with the score at 1-0, and he would miss the next 3 games. Further, though, couldn't inform, previous to this Arsenal final, of course, he couldn't inspire us to get anything away at Wigan, as we sort of went out really on a bad night at Wigan Athletic, of course. Not great, that one, was it? Despite a setback against United at the Etihad, within days and with 5 games left, City, of course, became the champions, completed a League and League Cup double, became the first and only club to get 100 points in a Premier League season. That wasn't bad going, was it? John Burfield, the class of 2017-18, for King of the Kippax 252, summed up a great season for Ferna as well as City in that magazine. I will read it out now from King of the Kippax, and he called him Fernandinho McDuracell. There you go. So we got our Duracell Bernardo Silva now, but obviously old Ferna was quoted as that as well. He's 34 years old and still the greatest exponent of his art in world football. How long those freakishly fit legs and lungs have got in them, I do not know. But whether next season is his last or not, we're talking about a player who deserves to be revered alongside Dave, Vinny, Yaya, Zaba and Sergio as one of the club's all-time greats. The positional awareness consistently superb, the ground covering remarkable, the headers won for a man of just 5'9", frankly incredible, and the inclination is always to drive or pass the ball forward. a godsend. Leeds and loads of cartel-sponsored drivel about tactical fouls and dark arts, of course, as if Ferna were somehow different in that capacity to any other defensive midfield specialist. But I did enjoy the one when he made sure he fell down on top of that dirty some UCK Kane at White Hart Lane, and then rubbed his face down into the turf for good measure. Beautiful. Yeah, it was quite good to watch, wasn't it? So he got a 9 out of 10 from Burfield. So high ratings indeed. You remember in part one, Burfield was early season one of his big critics, and obviously, but we can change our minds. That's what football's all about, isn't it? His stats for that season: played 48, came on as twice as substitute, 5 goals, a 79% win rate. That was impressive. 12 yellows and 0 reds. So he did all right. He said the master of the dark arts. He did an okay job. On to the 18-19 season. Yeah, could things get any better for Ferna and City? Possibly, that's for sure. A great start. Although there was going to have a bit of a great start to the season, although there's going to be a bit of a sting in the tail for our legend Ferna, unfortunately. Although, as I say, it didn't ruin the season, but for him personally, obviously. Following the departure of Yaya, Ferna began the season as City's only natural defensive midfielder, and City hit top spot by the end of September. And Ferna's only goal contribution came in a 5-0 home win against Burnley on the 20th of October. Once again, yes, Ferna would line up against his old mates, his old muckers, Shakhtar Donetsk on the 7th of November, but we wouldn't show much mercy this time with a 6-0 win over Shakhtar in that game. By Christmas, City had lost top spot to Liverpool. Yeah, disgraceful. Then a thigh injury prevented Ferna from playing against both Crystal Palace and Leicester City in December. 2 games that we subsequently lost 3-2 at the Etihad against Palace, and of course 3-1 we lost at Leicester as well. However, Ferna was able to return to fitness in time for a season-defining home match against title rivals Liverpool. Of course, Liverpool had gone 7 points ahead by then. They took advantage of our little slip-ups. So it became a sort of a game where we could not really, if Liverpool beat us, it would have been 10 points ahead. Season over? Possibly. But so we had to sort of, became a must-win battle, didn't it? So we didn't want him to go 10 points clear, and Ferna was superb, brilliant in this game. He was named man of the match following a highly praised performance that helped City, of course, helped us beat Liverpool 2-1. BBC Sports Phil McNulty wrote, at the heart of it all was the magnificent Fernandinho, a man seemingly irreplaceable among the City's stellar cast, as he delivered a masterclass of control midfield play to steady his side when required. By early February, City had clawed back on Liverpool and again sat top. By the early February, City had clawed back on Liverpool and again sat top. And at the end of February, saw City's first chance for silverware. Again, well, you know what competition we're talking about. Although, once again, he hadn't featured much in the Carabao Cup early rounds. He did start in February's Carabao Cup final, of course, against Chelsea. But it was to backfire as Fernandinho picked up a booking and a muscle injury during extra time, and would for the remainder of the season struggle to remain fit, unfortunately. But a win on penalties, of course, brought us the cup. So it's not just Liverpool winning things on penalties, is it? But hey, never mind. We have a good go at them, don't we? Yeah, so another trophy, but I say the ramifications, unfortunately, for Ferna. His next appearance was as a 75th minute sub, just to get him back into the mood of things, to replace KDB in a 2-0 win at Craven Cottage over Fulham at the end of March. That was over a month later after the cup final. He featured as a 65th minute substitute again for KDB in the FA Cup semi-final at Wembley. A 1-0 win over Brighton. Yeah, a happier FA Cup this time, but was unavailable for the record equaling 6-0 final win over Watford, of course. So although he would have got a medal for that, but obviously he wasn't actually on the pitch available for it. So it was a nail-biting season, as in let's win everything, came to an end. Ferna only started 3 games out of the last 16. Yeah, he only played 3 because of that problem in the final, but contributed greatly, of course, early season and mid-season to this treble-winning season. All right, we'll call it a quadruple if he had the Community Shield to it. Though doubts were now beginning because of these injuries surface over his fitness and these injury problems going forward. The last word for the season, we go back to John Burfield for King of the Kippax, issue 261 in his class of 2018-19 feature. See how complimentary he is on this. I think he's fairly complimentary. Fernandinho, pleased to report that the original Duracell bunny is still bouncing around full tilt at the age of 33 and clearly belonging in that category of freakishly fit City players that has previously included Colin Bell and James Milner. It's not beyond the realms of possibility that we might get not just one more year out of Ferna, but two. Certainly replacing him will be every bit as difficult as it will be to replace Dave and Sergio. Jorginho looks set to arrive in the next week or two. He didn't. And whilst he may be a smooth, deep-lying playmaker in his own right, he has none of Ferna's remorseless physicality. The number of defensive headers Ferna wins for a man of just 5'9" is astonishing, and when it comes to tackling, he's almost never worsted. For me, he was third only to Kevin Dave as our best and most consistent player last season, and he deserved to be in the PFA Team of the Year. So he's in the PFA Team of the Year as well. So he got a very healthy 9 out of 10 again. So that's 2 years on the trot. He got 9 out of 10. His stats for the season: played 42, 4 as sub, 1 goal, just 1 goal, 81% win rate. That's impressive. 9 yellows and 0 red cards. So here we go. Season 1920, earmarked as cover for a new DM. Ferna has a surprise role to play. Yeah, he does. With Fernandinho's age becoming an area of concern, of course, for City. City signed Rodri from Atletico Madrid over the summer. And because of this new midfield acquisition, Gundogan's excellent performance as a defensive midfielder the previous season and central defender Vincent Kompany's departure, Guardiola planned to use Ferna as backup central defender throughout the season. As we started our defence of our 4 domestic trophies, okay, we'll sneak the Community Shield in there. Ferna was struggling to even make the bench, unfortunately. His first appearance off the bench was a 4-0 win over Brighton on the 31st of August, replacing an injured Laporte. He started the game against, his old buddies Shakhtar again for the 3rd year on the trot on September the 18th over in Ukraine. And an injury to first-choice centre-half Aymeric Laporte just 4 weeks into the season meant that Pep had to rely on Ferna to lead his defensive line. And once in there, Ferna was going to take some shifting, some dislodging, wasn't he? As he started Premier League game after Premier League game. He subsequently started nearly every Premier League match following Laporte's injury, with all of his appearances for the season being in central defence. Pep was not too pleased, though. October the 26th, when a 3-1 home win against Phil, he was sent off for 2 bookable offences. Liverpool were 6 points clear after 10 games. We needed Ferna on the pitch. Fortunately, his 1-game ban coincided with the Carabao Cup tie, which he would have been rested for anyway, so that was okay. Ironically, in this Villa game, Ferna became the 3rd Brazilian to play 200 Premier League games and the first player to be sent off 3 times at the Etihad. So one good, one not so good. His appearances for City this season took him past his total appearances for his previous club, Shakhtar, of course. In the Champions League, a totting up of 3 yellow cards in the group games meant he missed the game with Dynamo Zagreb. The only games he'd missed since Laporte's injury were through either suspension or Carabao Cup games. But in the league, Liverpool were beginning to run away with it, weren't they? We didn't know what was on the horizon, though, did we? On January the 7th, though, he did appear in the Carabao Cup in the semi-final first leg at Old Trafford in a nice 3-1 win. And on the 28th of January 2020, the eve of the second leg, it was announced that he had signed a 1-year contract extension with the club. Yippee. On the 9th of February, he would play. He didn't know it then. His last game in front of a crowd at the Etihad for quite a while, though we, of course, had no clue at the time. Victory in the Carabao Cup against Villa, following a great victory over Real Madrid, was followed by a disappointing defeat, of course, at United, before football was stopped for COVID. Liverpool, by this time, were 20 points clear of City in the pack. They'd eventually, on restart, win the league. I think they had 7 games left when they eventually won the league, so they won it at a canter, let's be honest about it. And when the season restarted in mid-June, City had Laporte back, of course. So Ferna, who stood him manfully all season, was now fighting for his place again. Away at Chelsea, the 25th of June, Ferna blotted his copybook again. Perhaps he's getting a little bit irate about all this, being second choice. I'm not too sure. He was sent off in a 2-1 loss at Chelsea, and he missed the face-saving 4-0 hammering of Liverpool at the Etihad on the 2nd of July. Ferna came on for David Silva in a disappointing FA Cup semi-final defeat, yet another 2-0 to Arsenal, and he was subbed himself on 56 minutes in the also disappointing 3-1 loss to Lyon, of course, in that one-match quarter-final because of the COVID situation. So, again, a bit of a low point. So Ferna, like City, finished the COVID-affected season on a bit of a low. A season where, mainly due to his defensive role, he failed to get on the score sheet, so he hadn't scored any. It wouldn't be interesting to see again if he would just be back up for Pep and City on what would be, of course, a behind closed doors full season, the 2021 season. Would he spring a surprise? One thing is for sure with Ferna and Pep, it will never be dull, would it? His season stats: played 41, 6 as sub, 0 goals, a 66% win rate, which wasn't overly bad considering, 12 yellows and 2 reds, so not great. Please join me in part 3 as Ferna plays his last 2 seasons for City, of course. So let's see what he gets up to. No spoiler alerts. I think you more or less know what's going to go on, don't you? Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please, until we meet again, I have one thing for you, don't I? Please stay safe, Blues. Come on, City. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.